When you hear that word loneliness, you might think of suicide, depression, drugs, incels, or forever alone. And that's what makes it a hard question. Moreover, it carries a stigma. It's opposite to how we interact as social creatures. We're known as social creatures. And nobody wants to be associated with that. I understand that loneliness might make you feel uncomfortable. You might be thinking to yourself, I'm not one of those. However, it may not be so stigmatizing once we understand it. Just before the pandemic, I came across headlines talking about loneliness. And it interested me, and I subscribed to these headlines, to these psychology forums and public health policy forums, just to keep myself updated on what's been happening. Today, I'd like to share some of that information with you by first exposing the presence of loneliness in Gen Z, considering the cause of loneliness in Gen Z, and looking at the long-term effects of loneliness. To begin, we must realize that loneliness is a condition that we all experience. Loneliness is described as a condition, as a chronic feeling of pain to isolation, according to the Encyclopedia of Human Relationships, published in 2009. Moreover, solitude is not the same as loneliness. Solitude is the enjoyment of your alone time, whereas loneliness is the opposite. For example, when you're alone, walking in the park by yourself, and you're enjoying your time, then that would be solitude. Whereas when you're walking the park alone and not enjoying your time, that would be loneliness. Well-received nationwide surveys showed that loneliness was sizable. Surprisingly, 2/3 of college students felt very lonely, very sad, and left out over the past 12 months, according to the American College Health Association report published in 2017. In 2018, Cigna Insurance's Loneliness Index identified Gen Z as the loneliest generation. Similar results alarmed the U.S. Department of Health, and in 2021, the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Murthy, warned that there is an urgent need to address the youth mental health crisis. Interestingly, that trend started in 2012, according to a study from 2021 published in the Journal of Adolescence. See, before 2012, the loneliness trend was relatively flat and even down for some years. But then came 2012 and it shot up, it skyrocketed, increasing at a sharp pace. And researchers also noted that before 2012, just 2 years prior to that, was the founding of Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. Hopefully, you have a better understanding of what loneliness is. So let's look at what public health policy experts are honing in on as a major contributor. The major contributor to loneliness is social media. In 2017, published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, young adults with higher social media use felt more socially isolated than those with lower social media use. In 2018, Pew Research found that nearly 50% of teens are online almost constantly, with social media being the most popular activity. So imagine almost that entire section of the room. Basically, the more time that you spend online, the more time you spend on social media, lowers your psychological well-being, according to a study published in 2019 in the Psychiatric Quarterly. And that's no accident. See, the heart icons of Snapchat and Instagram, they feed into our need for social reciprocity. See, when I pat you on the back, you might feel compelled to pat me on the back. So for example, and social media exploit this psychologically through constant notifications. See, for example, when you're on Snapchat and you'll see that message that says someone is typing to you, then you'll get another alert that says they have sent a message to you. That constant notification creates a kind of feedback loop. And that back and forth is what glues us to our phones. And social media knows how to exploit that. While social media is causing loneliness, let's look at the physical impact of loneliness. detrimental. In 2012, in a study from Nature Neuroscience, researchers showed how loneliness is connected physically with health. First, loneliness triggers chronic inflammation in the body. And then second, that chronic inflammation, it weakens the immune system. And then when you have a weakened immune system, your body has an extremely difficult time fighting diseases like cancer and diabetes. And you might agree with that if you've heard the old saying that laughter cures the physical body. So then it would make sense that loneliness does the opposite. 3 years later, in a study from the Perspectives on Psychological Science, it concluded that loneliness is deadlier than obesity and smoking. In fact, loneliness is deadlier than smoking 15 cigarettes per day. In conclusion, I'll admit loneliness is an uncomfortable topic, but keep in mind that loneliness is common, and social media is the major contributor, and long-term loneliness is detrimental. If trends continue, future generations may experience continuing trends, and so let's keep that in mind next time we're on social media.